Hey everyone, welcome to MemTea. My name's Sue Ann, and I'm here to talk about our selections for the month of April. This month's subscription box includes green Jade Oolong from Nantou, Taiwan. We've got Genmai Cha, or toasted rice tea from Japan, and we've got a black tea from Yunnan called Yunnan Golden Buds. So let's have a closer look at these teas. So, oolong, I'm going to start with the Jade Oolong from the Nantou region of Taiwan. Oolong tea is semi-oxidized tea. That means it's not green or black, but can be anything in between. But Jade, hence the name, this oolong is a rolled oolong, which is going to be closer to green tea than black. And oolong, these rolled oolongs from Taiwan tend to be very flowery. So it's an unroasted tea, so it's not going to have some of that nuttiness that you get from some oolongs like Tea Kuan Yin. It's really just more of a fresh, clean spring-like flavor. Very floral, lots of magnolia, a little fruity. We've got some melon flavors going on here. So Nantou, this tea you may have heard of Four Seasons oolong, and that is really referring to the kind of plant that this tea is made from. So Nantou is a large growing region in central Taiwan that is populated mostly with this Four Seasons spring plant. And it's called Four Seasons Spring because it's very prolific. So we get a lot of yield from this plant. Good pest resistance, good flavor, good yield. It's a very hardy plant. So it's a good value tea, really. And it will produce 3 or 4 harvests or pickings throughout the season. So I like to brew rolled oolongs in a gaiwan being just this covered bowl. I'm using glass so that you can see what's going on inside. And these partially oxidized teas, we'll see as the leaves unfurl that there's very little brown on the leaf itself because that oxidation gets halted using heat before the tea is allowed to fully oxidize. So you can see it's got a really nice golden liqueur, very crisp, very clean, super floral. Again, I'm getting a lot of magnolia in the cup aroma, not a lot of roast, and definitely has some sweet fruit flavors to that as well. So I just want to give you a closer look at these oolong tea leaves. You can see the dry leaf is rolled and compressed into these tiny little beads or pellets. And this is what we sometimes refer to as a rolled oolong versus a twisted, like the dark Wu Yi from last month. The rolled oolongs, this is a very classic shape that you'll see quite often when purchasing oolong from Taiwan, and some rolled oolongs from China will also be tightly balled up. This takes many stages of compressing, twisting, wringing, rolling. They sort of tie all these leaves. You can see, the leaf starts out really large and fluffy, and then will get compressed and rolled up, tied up in a cloth bundle, and then kneaded like bread. And that's how they get this shape, just by repeating that whole process over and over again, usually at least 10 up to 20 times, I would say. You can see here, this is the raw material. that they're working with. They include 3 or 4 leaves and a bit of stem to hold everything together. There is some, you can see some brown on the outside of the leaf, and that is the level of oxidation that they're looking for. Also, the leaves vary in size quite a bit, which means they're varying in maturity. So usually the tiny little leaf will be at the end of the stem, and this is the newest baby leaf, which with many teas is unfurled and remains an unopened bud. But in the instance of oolong tea, they are going to want to wait until this leaf begins to open and or fully opens before they'll pick the tea and then produce the tea. And you can see the yellow gold liqueur that this tea produces, which is really nice, sweet, floral, and a really tasty addition to your tea cupboard. So next we have Genmai Cha, which means toasted rice tea. So this is a blend from Japan. It consists of green tea, steamed green tea, which most Japanese tea is steamed. That will halt the oxidation process, so that makes the leaf green and keeps it green indefinitely. And this also has the addition, so there's some sencha in here. There's even a little bancha in here. And we talked last time about sencha being early tea and bancha being late tea. So this is a blend of early picking and late picking and toasted rice. Some of it pops, so you get some little white, looks like little kernels of popcorn in there. It's very cute. Has a slightly grassy but also mostly nutty and grainy aroma and flavor. Some people think it tastes like popcorn. Some people think it looks like popcorn, smells like popcorn. It was developed by the tea pickers who loved to drink copious amounts of tea but really couldn't afford the habit, so wound up adding rice to green tea to really stretch the harvest and stretch their supply, and then found after doing so for some time and kind of figuring out how to roast the tea, the rice kernels, because it can be light roast, medium roast, dark roast, almost like coffee. You can have more of a roasted flavor or less of a roasted flavor, and more rice or less rice. So there's a lot of stuff that can be figured out, and we usually have some input when we're purchasing this tea. We like it kind of lightly roasted, not too dark. If we don't have enough, feel like this is getting a sample from Japan. If we don't feel like we have enough tea flavor, we'll ask to add more tea. To improve the tea flavor, add more sencha, less bancha. So there's a lot of things that can be done when buying a blend from Japan, because these teas usually get finished to order. So the nice thing about buying almost anything except a single origin tea from Japan is that you get some input if you're working with people who are responsive to your feedback, and we do. So it works out nicely for us. This doesn't take long to steep. None of the Japanese teas do, because the leaf size is so small, and the particle size is small. It's going to steep. It has more surface area. It's going to steep quickly. So that was about a 1-minute steep, and you can see you get this nice yellow, greenish gold liqueur. The aroma smells like cereal. It's very grainy, very nutty. This is a wonderful breakfast tea. You can almost feel like you're having your tea and toast at the same time. Really very popular tea in Japan, and one of our more popular Japanese teas as well. So I hope you enjoy this one. Yeah, that's really the grain and the leaves together give it a nice sweetness, a nice balance of rice in the tea. It's very delicious. Love it. Okay, so last tea here, we've got Yunnan Golden Buds. So Yunnan is the place, the region, it's a province in China where this tea is from. And the golden buds are referring to the part of the plant, the bud or the new leaf or the tip of each branch that this tea is produced from. And they're gold because they're covered in these little tiny downy hairs that are white when the tea plant is growing, and then when the leaves are removed from the plant and they oxidize, they turn gold rather than brown like the lower leaves on the plant. So typically the more gold you see in a tea, the better the quality, because there's only one golden leaf on each branch, and then the rest are going to be dark brown, and that's how tea gets graded, really. The more tips, the higher the quality. So this is one of our higher grade teas from Yunnan. And what's in the tip that is less concentrated in the lower leaves is this amino acid called theanine. It's unique to tea, and it gives the tea a lot of things, but one thing is its creamy mouthfeel. So it gives the tea body. It's good for your brain. It works with caffeine. It affects the way that the caffeine is ingested and used in the body. So the more theanine, typically the sort of more alert and focused yet calm you remain. Theanine's a really wonderful part of tea. That's why I think people have become so attached to it. And this tea, even though it looks so light in color, the leaf, it really does produce a rich liqueur. So this cup, in the cup, it's going to have a lot of body. It's going to have a nice flavor. The dry leaf has this really amazing, when we first tried a sample of this tea, had this nice kind of yeasty, bready aroma to the dry leaf. It just smelled really rich and comforting in its smell. I thought of bread. I thought of maybe like a pumpernickel bread. It has just a nice sweetness to it that you get sometimes when you smell bread rising, that yeasty quality, and sweet potato, when the liqueur, once it's brewed, there's kind of a sugary sweetness there, almost the charred baked part skin of a sweet potato. Lots of goodness in this tea. Looking forward to tasting it. And depending, of course, I'm going to get it started a little bit early, but depending on what kind of vessel you're drinking out of, this is kind of what inspired us. If you put it in something like this, it almost looks like a spirit, and that's what inspired us to add a hot toddy recipe to the booklet, because this tea really lends itself to, it's a fantastic drinker. It's gonna take milk well. You can see it's getting darker as it steeps. It has a nice richness to it. Good with or without milk, and also with or without brandy is what I'm gonna say. You can add a cinnamon stick and a shot of brandy to this, or even some bourbon. I tend to like brandy in my toddies. I think it's just kind of marries well with the tea, doesn't really jump out at you, doesn't feel, kind of still feels like I'm being gentle but soothing, and it's not a punch in the face. It's very, very gentle kind of, libation. So thank you for watching this video for the month of April subscription picks. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you learned a little something about tea. And if you do decide to make any of the recommended recipes in our booklet, feel free to post them on social media and we'll love it. And until next month, bon appetit.